3D Valentine's Day prints? Practical? Useful? Or just plain cute? Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to Monday morning coffee with Stephen. Yeah, I had to think about the title of that since it's brand new. Yep, this is if you haven't been here before or have not been here lately, I've changed the name of my vlog to Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen. The vlog is one of the segments that I do once a week, as you know. I'm still the Idiot Quilter, and the regular episode of the Idiot Quilter always appears on Tuesdays. This is my chance to talk to you, have a little chat about what's been going on around here, talk about things I've been working on, especially like 3D printing. Not so much on quilting, but there will be probably some of that since it's a very important part of my daily routine, my weekly routine, my monthly routine, my life, kind of a thing. So having said that, I'm going to give you a little sneaky peek at something that tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter I'm going to get to in a lot more detail. In fact, I've made a video about how to make one of these little things. So let me just switch my camera. There you go. The portfolios. Now, you probably remember me telling you that I bought a couple of these at my local Dollarama. Dollarama is a very popular dollar store here in Canada. I'm sorry, you don't have Dollaramas in the States. Last year, they came out with tote bags that were made out of felt. And they're very great. Very great. They're very good. They're very strong and that kind of thing. And I thought they'd make great Christmas presents if I embroidered them. So I did. Took them apart, embroidered them, sewed the back up together again, and I made 12 of those. And I never want to make another one. Well, that's not absolutely true, but I still have a few left over that are done. And yeah, they're there for future gifts or whatever. But in the meantime, when I was in the Dollarama looking around, and I love to go into the Dollarama and just wander the aisles up and down, you never know what you're going to find there. And, things aren't really $1 at the Dollarama. They're more like, $1.25 to about $5 these days. But when they first opened, they were $1. But, like everything, prices have gone up. But anyways, I saw these and I thought to myself, these would be great to embroider on and, jazz them up a little bit. And then I can give them, down the road as gifts, or I can hold my current patterns that I'm working on in here. They're even big enough. Someone suggested this and I checked it out, and they're big enough to handle an iPad if you want it for, something like that. Anyways, you can see what I've done here. The first one, the lighter gray one, that one, I've got some placement errors with my design, and I'll talk about that tomorrow. And then the darker gray one, I'm really happy with the way that turned out, because I also put a quilting. It's not really quilted, but I used a quilting design on the front and the back of it. Yeah, I think it turned out really quite nice. I added on the blue one, the little blue snap, that's a snap. And on this one, I added a magnetic snap, but you could see the magnetic snap and the side, it doesn't look that nice. Usually you bury the little prongs for those in the layers of whatever you're doing. Well, in this case I couldn't, so I've looked in my button jar and I found this little gold button and I glue gunned her on. Works. Yeah. I think these have a lot of potential for other things too, and other ways you could design them. If you don't have an embroidery machine, that shouldn't stop you. You could applique on them with your sewing machine or whatever, or just use some of your decorative stitches on your sewing machine. So anyways, you can't go wrong for, I think they were $2.50 each. So really, yeah, the only investment you have in it is some thread and your time. Okay, so that's what I was up to. And I tell you, I've got another little secret thing happening. It's not that secret, but I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. But I am going to make a video of the things that I create now. because you said you want to see process. So I'm going to show you process. And in fact, today, when we get to the 3D printing section of what I'm going to talk about, I have a video for you for that too. More on that in a minute. But that was my sneak peek. How's everybody doing? I hope you're good today. It is a holiday here in Canada. It is here in Ontario. It's called Family Day, and in several other provinces it's referred to as that too. But some of the provinces have the same day off, but they call it something else, like Heritage Day or Louis Riel Day or something like that. But anyways, we're off, and I think you, if you're in the United States, are off as well. I thought it was Washington's birthday, but Walter looked it up last night and says, no, you call it President's Day. Well, Washington was a president, so I was halfway there. And who knows, maybe it got started because it was meant to be Washington's birthday, but they decided to lump all the presidents in there. I don't know. But anyways, if you're off, if you're enjoying a long weekend, good for you. I hope you're having a good one. Okay, so you know that I'm doing some revamping of the channel. Not major changes, but some changes, especially on this Monday morning coffee with Stephen, that I call it now, which is meant to be kind of chatty. And you're going to say, and why is that any different from anything else you've ever done? Well, you're right, it isn't. But I base the changes, and they're still ongoing. They're still ongoing. I'm still looking. If you've got an idea, please send it to me of what you would like to see or something that I could do that you think would enhance subscribers' experience here. That would be great. So I've isolated about some 3 comments from the comments that came in last week. I read all the comments, and I will send some form of reply back to each comment as well. I have found that actually adds to the channel. It looks like people actually read the comments, and there's some dialogues going on in there. So yeah, I'm making that's one of my major, well, it's not a major because I've done it before, but I'm being very conscious. I check my comments every day. I'm supposed to get a notification from YouTube when someone makes a comment on my channel, but that never seems to work. But that's so many things on YouTube that don't work, like the ad thing that was happening yesterday during our live. I thought I had that handled. I got to go in and explore that further later today because that's annoying. But you know, there's more and more ads as usual. I mean, look at Facebook. And I don't go on Facebook anymore. I think it's a complete waste of time. It's nothing but advertising. And, you know, you see one comment, you're reading it, then suddenly you go to the next comment, an ad pops up. Well, YouTube is pretty much the same way anymore. And that just kills stuff. And don't these greedy little corporations notice that? I mean, I've heard many people say that they have stopped watching YouTube or using Facebook, and that's simply because of the great number of ads. Please don't stop watching me. I try to do everything I possibly can to limit the ads. But as a content creator, and we talked about this yesterday for a bit on Stephen and Walter Live, we have very little control over it. Now, of course, if you don't want any ads at all, you can buy their subscription because that's what they want you to do. And I had my heels dug in and said I wasn't going to do that. And then one day, a couple of weeks ago, Walter said, well, he bought a subscription. Yeah. Sometimes he undercuts me. And I said, why? And he said, because there's a bunch of stuff he watches, and he's really, like, he likes to watch the news programs and technical stuff. And he says it was just getting just annoying. So he bit the bullet, and he paid, I think we pay about $18 a month subscription for that. It's almost about the same as Netflix. And, well, he could share the wealth with me because they have like a family plan. So we got the family plan, and yeah, I don't see ads anymore. And I'm going to admit something. I really like not seeing the ads. And unfortunately, I'm going to say it's probably worth the money if you can afford it. It irks me that that's what they're doing. but they know. They know how to get your goat, don't they? So anyways, that was a little bit of a digression there. Have some coffee. I hope you're having coffee. Or something else. I don't know. It might be very early where you are. I mean, right here, right now, it's 7:30 in the morning. And lately too, talking about timing, I've been getting up a little later. I think I was putting too much undue stress on myself. I am retired, as you know, and I've been retired for over 13 years now. Yeah, they go fast. They go fast. It's scary. But I was getting up at like 4:45 at one point in the morning. Why? Because I woke up and I'd get up. And because I'd lay there in bed and you know how your brain starts to kick in on stuff and your whole day is going through your head, like what I have to do, this has to be done. I have to go here. I got to go there. And I've got to get this done. And it was like I'm giving myself deadlines and commands. I'm retired. My time is my time for the most part. Any due dates, any pressure I'm putting, any pressure I feel from things I feel I need to do, that all comes from me. But I'm in control of my life now. I'm not on somebody else's payroll or schedule. So why am I doing that? If I want to lay in bed for a little bit longer, what the hell? The world won't stop spinning because I've done that. What needs to be done will be done. I'll get to it. So that's the attitude I'm trying to take right now. So I am not getting up at 4:45 in the morning. I'm still getting up relatively early, and it depends. I fluctuate between getting up at around 6-ish to around 7-ish. It depends. It depends. So you're going to say, well, what time do you go to bed at night? You must go to bed really early. Well, I do. I'm usually in bed by 9:30. Sometimes it's a little later. And I do make a point of reading for a little while, usually about half an hour before I turn out the light. That's my routine. And that's my reading time because I don't really get any time to do my leisure reading except when I'm in bed. And we've got one of those beds that rises up. We got that back last year, and I love it. I absolutely love it, especially for reading in bed. And of course, I have an ebook, Kobo. It's the same as a Kindle, except it's the Canadian version. And I love my Kobo. I really do. And, I was one of those people that used to say, oh, I'll never go to an e-reader because I love the feel of a book. I still love a feel of a book, but books are awkward in bed. Let's face it. Books are kind of thick and they're heavy. They're hard to prop up. You got to get yourself in a position where you're not straining your shoulders or your back or your eyes. And yeah, the Kobo ticks off all the little boxes on that one. I absolutely love it. I think I bought a new one for myself at Christmas time. I didn't really need a new one, but I wanted a new one. And this one supposedly is color. Well, that's a little misnomer because, well, yeah, the book covers are in color. The text is black and white. If you want to highlight stuff, I guess that's what the color's for. If you want to make notes or something, you can take a stylus or your finger and highlight stuff and change the color of it. And yeah, well, I'm not making notes. I'm just reading for the pure fun of it. I'm not analyzing the book. I did that too much for my life since I was an English major and an English teacher. So we just kill literature. English teachers, What do you think the meaning of that is? Yeah, just enjoy it. So, so I go to bed. So the light goes off by about 10. And then next day I'm up. But I'm trying to take things a little bit easier. I was also getting up early because I wanted to walk. I'm on this kick. I got to go for a walk every day. Well, I was going out for a walk. I'd be out in the dark, in the winter, at 6:30 in the morning, or earlier in some cases for my walk. And I'm thinking, why? That's the coldest part of the day here during the winter months anyways. I mean, I'm walking out in sub-zero weather, like -13, -23 few days, minus 23 as in Celsius. So, you know, way below freezing. And I'm saying to myself, you know, if you go a little later, there'll be more light. You'll see your way, and might be slightly warmer by a few degrees. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying not to set up a panic situation for myself. I guess that's what it is, because that's what I was doing. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. No, I don't. No, I don't. I answer to nobody except myself. And so myself has to stop being such a cruel taskmaster. Anyways, how did I get on that? Well, this is why we call it Morning Coffee with Stephen. We're chatting. Well, I'm chatting. Okay, let's take a look at some comments. I picked 3 comments that came in the last week, just to go over with you. I don't know if I should say people's names or not on these comments, or what they call themselves on YouTube, because, you know, on YouTube, it depends on what you signed up with, what kind of ID, what comes up. Oftentimes it's your name with a big number, that kind of thing. I think I won't, because I haven't really asked the people the permission for these. So, you know, I'm going to play blonde. I don't know. It was interesting. This one came in and said, really like this Monday morning coffee with Stephen idea. Doing it live would be even better. Yeah, okay. A couple of people said this. And you want to know something? I might give it a go. Obviously not this week, but I'm thinking maybe next week I will try it. I won't do it on a regular basis. It'll just be hit and miss, but maybe try and see who would join in if I did it live. Now, if people didn't get there for the live, it doesn't matter, because it's rebroadcast anyways on the channel, so that works. I don't know. I mean, if I'm on here, like right now it's 7:40 in the morning, Eastern time. Well, if you're out in the West Coast, you're probably not out of bed yet, because it's about 4:40 in the morning out there. Now, if you're across the big pond over in the UK, for example, they're about 5 hours ahead of us. So for them, it's around lunchtime. So it would work out for them. So I don't know. It all depends. But I might try it as a live, maybe next Monday morning. I'll see. I'll see how that goes. Anyway, she went on to say, more collaborations would be fun. Always enjoy it when you get together with Russians, Sean, and others. Love all the humor. Yes, well, speaking of that, I got contacted by Sean, who's known as the guy who sews, and he always does a live every Saturday morning starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and he asked me if I would be his guest on April the 7th, and I said, yes, I would be, for sure. I've been one of his guests before in the past. It's always a good time. I enjoy speaking with Sean and, you know, looking at what he's working on and that kind of thing. And yeah, so there you go. It is a form of collaboration. I don't usually do collaborations that involve sewing and stuff, because for me, it becomes a question of scheduling. You know, I don't mind doing a special one here and there, like a one-off kind of a thing, but some collaborations are like sew-alongs or things like that go on for a long period of time and on a regular basis, and I don't want to commit to something like that because I'm never sure what I'm doing all the time down the road. I like to leave my options open, so to speak. So that's why I don't do it. Not saying I won't, though. It's a possibility. If the opportunity comes up and I think it's a good opportunity, then I'll probably take advantage of that. She says she listens to me often no matter what I'm doing. Your voice is like a trustworthy and reliable friend, full of kindness and humor. Okay, that's very nice. Thank you very much for that comment. I've had other people talk about my voice too, that it lulls them to sleep. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. This comment from another subscriber says, I'm a night person too. I go to bed between 3 and 5 a.m. Now, she's referring to something I was saying about Walter, because Walter does not come to bed until about 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Mind you, he doesn't get up until about 11 or 12 the next day. So, you know, it's time shifting here. And she says, then I sleep until 11 a.m. or so. So bang on to just like Walter. If I wake up too early, I put a YouTube video on my iPad to put me back to sleep. Your voice works great for that. Okay. So if you're having trouble sleeping, turn me on and I'll turn you off. Yeah. I promise that I go back and watch you later in the day. Oh, thank you for that. I like to stay up after my husband and son are in bed because I'm able to recharge my brain and work without interruption. My schedule drives my husband crazy too. I just figure he can have the mornings to get away from me. There's logic in that. There really is. When you've been with somebody for a long, long time, you have your routines. You have the routine you have together, you have your own separate routines. And when you're retired, and both Walter and I are retired, and I was worried about that because I retired about 5 years before he could retire. And I thought, okay, I'm used to my schedule, what I do while he's at work. I'm here doing what I need to do. What's it going to be like when he's no longer going to work? Well, he did start to work from home, so that kind of got us climatized to that. But it works out fine. And it's mainly because I'm downstairs in we have a raised bungalow kind of a thing. So this is our rec room and other areas down here. And this is my work room down here. And he has his work room upstairs in one of the spare bedrooms. And we don't have to look at each other. When I redid this room, used to be my craft room, I knew I was going to, when I was changing it over to a sewing room is what I'm trying to say. I'm having more coffee. I said to Walter when we were planning it out, I said, there's probably enough room we could both use it as a workroom for sewing. And he immediately said, nope, no way, Jose. Nope, he likes his private room upstairs. It's a mess, but that's him. That works for him. That is fine. I don't have to live with it. The best part is you can shut the door and you don't have to look at it. And yeah, it was probably the right thing to do because then we might have been on each other's case. It's good to have a floor separating us, or ceiling, whichever way you look at it. We regroup around lunch. And we go off and, we do lots of things together, but it's nice to have areas in your house that are yours. And I think it helps in a relationship. I really do. Okay, and then the last comment was, Walter sitting with his deadpan expression cracks me up. I really enjoy your relationship. Well, that's kind of what we're talking about there. There are those who have criticized us and said that, especially me, that I'm too hard on Walter, that I'm always picking on Walter. No, that's part of our persona on here. Well, it isn't a persona. We kind of do things back and forth with each other, like the one-liners and stuff like that, and we always have. And Walter can dish them out as well as I can. So yeah, he just has this air about him. And everybody who meets Walter always say when the first time they don't know him, he's very reserved. Well, no, what he is very calculating. Walter does not have a great deal of trust for people when he first meets them. You have to earn his trust. Whereas I'm sort of like a dog. Hi, how are you? Hi, what can I do for you? Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, and then I get burned. But he's more like, yeah, okay, you stay over there and I'll stay over here and I'll observe. And that's what he does. Yeah, and that's what makes him seem reserved, but he's not. Once you get to know Walter, Walter gets to know you and trust you. Totally different ball game. Yeah. So our personalities complement each other. We're enough the same that we don't usually have to argue over anything major, but we're enough different that keeps things interesting. Okay, well, thank you for those comments, and there were others as well, and keep the comments coming into all of the videos because I enjoy reading them, and as I said, I will respond. Okay, so what's been happening around here? Well, we still have our walks. Oh, the last couple of days have been a little bit milder, and so the snow on the sidewalks has been melting, and which is a good thing because these people who do not shovel their sidewalks, and then, we go through warmer periods, colder periods. We get more snow, less snow. It gets a little melty, then it freezes again. And if you don't shovel off the sidewalk, it becomes treacherous for walking. So, yeah. I swear, I'm going to take a sticky pad note out, and I'll have on it, thank you for shoveling your thank you for shoveling your sidewalk. My doctor's bill will be in your mailbox tomorrow, or something like that, or my lawyer will be seeing you, something like that. I don't. I have a vivid imagination. I play with that in my head. But you know, it is, and we have a lot of older people in this neighborhood, and there's a lot of walkers. You know, be kind, clean off your sidewalk. It just helps. So Walter, though, is constantly out there shoveling and salting. He secretly loves doing it. Yeah, I don't. But he does. And so if he's happy with the snowblower going, sometimes he uses snowblower when it's heavier snow. He shovels when it's a little lighter. It's good exercise. That's what he tells himself with it. And when it's been a heavy snowfall and he's got the blower out, he's up the street blowing everybody else out too. So, you know, boys and their toys. What else I've been doing? I've been working on sewing projects and the changes to the channel, and I've got some projects that, as I said earlier, that I'm doing process videos for. So stay tuned for those. And there's going to be one on here in a moment. In fact, this is going to be long today. I'm sorry. The chatty ones are longer. Okay, so you're going to need a second cup of coffee because I haven't even got to the video for today. So let me speed things up here a little bit. So did you celebrate Valentine's Day? Bah humbug. We talked about that yesterday on Stephen Walter Live. We didn't really celebrate it, but we had sort of a special dinner, as in lobster tails. We love the Costco lobster tails, but they've not been as easy or as plentiful to get in the last little while from our local Costco. But there is a business Costco in towards the east end of Toronto. And we drove in there last time because they advertised they had boxes of lobster tails. So we went and got those. Well, we're just about out. I think we've got 2 tails left. So we're going to have to make a trip either this week or next week into this one again. They still have them. They're still selling them. So go in and get another box because we do enjoy them. But we don't eat them every day, just on special occasions. And so we had lobster tails, a nice salad using stuff we grow here with the grow lights, and yeah, so that was what we did for Valentine's Day. We don't go out or do all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I have bought a couple of new things that I want to show you. Let me just find the picture. Here it is. Of course I bought them from Amazon because who doesn't? And let's just see if I can blow this up a little bit bigger. Okay, so I bought a Roku. I've heard people talk about them, streaming stick, all that. Well, that was a waste of money. Because everything that you can get on the Roku, we already get on our Apple TV. So yeah. I can send it back. It didn't cost that much. You can see it cost me with tax $61. I'm not going to send it back. We're keeping it because Walter's got it already hooked up into the TV set. So, you know, there might be something someday on there that, you know, we can't get on Apple TV or something, and we'll watch it. But yeah, I think it's great. I call it, okay, this sounds bad, but it's a poor person's Apple TV. Because they are inexpensive. You don't really need a subscription service. Like, even though we have Apple TV, for the things that we watch in that, we pretty much have subscriptions to link into it. You know, like Netflix and that kind of thing. I suppose you need a Netflix one with this too. You can get Netflix on it, but they have a whole bunch of freebies. It's all old stuff though. You know, if you enjoy the old sitcoms from back in last century, then hey, this might be something you'd enjoy. But really, not us. I also bought a new holder. That's the second thing, for my iPhone when we're in the car. I had one in there that I bought, was a cheaper one. This is a WeatherTech. WeatherTech makes all these custom things for cars, like floor mats and seat coverings and stuff like that. It wasn't particularly inexpensive, as you can see. This little sucker cost me, like with tax, about $84. I think the first one I had was under 20, but it didn't fit well. this goes into your cup holder and it's all adjustable. And yeah, right now I'm loving it. The only thing is, I should have bought the one they call the two-way, which I didn't understand what they meant by two-way. I do now. You can only put your phone in this in portrait mode. You can't put it in landscape mode. That's not really a problem for me when we're in the car, because what I'm primarily using it for is the GPS or for doing some videoing or checking my email, stuff like that. So portrait mode is fine. But yeah, for $20 more, they want it to, you know, you could get the two, and I didn't realize that that's what it was all about, so I didn't get it, but that's okay. This will do. Okay, so for highlights from the videos of last week from the Idiot Quilter, well, I did a video tutorial for making the portfolios. Was that last week? Yeah, I guess it was. Oh, is it going to be this week? No. Yeah, no. No. Okay. I'm losing it. I'm losing it. I just need to check something here. Give me just a little second here because I'm getting myself all screwed up. Okay, this is the problem when you're doing it chatty. When your notes aren't as extensive as they used to be. Okay, bear with me, people. I'm just checking notes for tomorrow. And let's just see what I have on here. Yeah, okay. The video tutorial was not last week. It's this week. That's what's coming up on that. Yeah, okay. But last week on So Chatty, we did do loading a quilt on Lucey. I was showing Walter how to do it. And this week on So Chatty, I teach Walter, or at least give him a quickie on how to use Quilt Path, which is the computerized system, because Walter wants to use Lucey. I think what he really wants to do is do free motion quilting, which he'll probably be very good at. So that's coming up as videos as well in the next few weeks. Okay. We do have a pop-up sew day coming up this Saturday. Yep. So that's in the links. The link for that is in the show notes below. And everybody's welcome. And you don't have to quilt. You can sew, you can be something creative. You can sit there and stare at us and drink all day long. It don't matter. It's always a fun time, and it'll start at 8 a.m. And what I mean by that is the doors open, the virtual doors. It is a Zoom. It is not recorded. And you don't have to be there at 8 Eastern time. You can come anytime it grabs you. And you don't have to stay all day either. We'll run until about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. If you have other things you need to do that day, you go ahead and do them. Not a problem. It's very laid back. So I hope to see many of you there. It's always a good time. I usually find them very productive. I'm inspired by other people working along, and I've heard other people say the same thing. Okay, now here's a segment I wasn't going to do anymore, but people told me they didn't want me to get rid of it. You seem to like your... Okay, I have to find my pictures again. I am such an idiot this morning. Let us get things back together here. Okay. All right. Get that up there. Da-da-da-da. People told me that... There I am. I couldn't see myself. You could see me. So I'm going to go here. They like me showing you what the Ring camera shows outside the door. So here it is at about 7:30 this morning. This is what we're looking at. And you can see the snow has receded a little bit. Right now it is -5 degrees Celsius, which is balmy. Not quite shorts and sandals yet. And in the forecast, what do we got? What's coming up? Today, well, there's 45% chance of, and it looks like they're talking rain. Well, the high for today is going to be 2 degrees, so it's a good possibility we could have that. That means everything will turn to slush, and that's going to make walking treacherous as well. There's There's more, it looks like snow though on Wednesday, 95% chance, but we're going to be at a high of 1. Tomorrow we go to a high of 4. Whoa. And the rest of the week, yeah, snow on 80% chance of snow on Friday, 50% chance of snow on Saturday, 45% chance of snow on Sunday. We're not out of it yet. We're not out of this yet. Okay, it is still winter here in Canada. Early spring, my butt. Someone just eat that groundhog. But anyways, that's what it's looking like as dawn approaches. And yeah. And the other thing that you said you did not want me to get rid of was my what's growing. I'm going to call it now what's growing. And that's the grow lights and other things. So here you go. I'm going to try to be actually a little more artistic in the shots that I take. Yeah, I'm not that good at camera work. So here is a deep dive into the lettuce. Yep, that's lettuce. And it's coming along nicely. We've been eating it. You can see we've got it empty, but there's a couple of little things. I'm not sure what Walter has planted in here. But it's probably more lettuce because this is grow light number 2. But I want you to see this. This is our basil. And this is how the basil will go over time. It gets really, the stem gets really woody. The stuff on it is still good to eat, but now it's starting to get a little gnarly in there. We may have to start some new basil with that. Now, there are a few people suggest that you pinch off the top and it'll get fuller and stuff like that. And yeah, that could, we'll have to try that. But anyways, we've still got a good crop of it. And then, of course, there's our tomatoes. So these are our, they call them kitchen tomatoes. They're cherry tomatoes. But look at the flowers. Where there's flowers, there's going to be tomatoes. So we've had a little lull. We had quite a harvest of these about a month or so ago. And we eat them all. We pick them every day. We put them in everything. And they are delicious. And you can see now, and we've got some green ones coming. So in another couple of weeks, these are going to be loaded. And we haven't done anything except water them. So yeah, great little plant if you can get your hands on it. They were called kitchen tomatoes. There's probably another name for them. I have no idea what that name is. And they grow very low. And that's why we love them under the grow lights. Because we had the regular tomatoes and yeah, they worked, but they just got too tall and bushy and we couldn't maintain them. So another thing though I want to show you is this. This is upstairs in our formal living room. The reason it's bent that way is because it bends towards the light, and then every so often we have to turn it, and it'll straighten itself up over the next few weeks. This is a very old plant. It's called a corn plant, but I found that it has a more technical name. It's actually a spineless yucca. This is an old plant. Walter got this plant for $5 or less in a Zellers store. Zellers were a chain here in Canada that don't exist anymore. Over 40 years ago. He got this just before we met. And we've been together for just over 42 years now. So yeah, this plant's our baby. It's been growing up with us. Every so often it gets too big and Walter has to cut it down. Usually there's actually 3 plants in there because what he does is he roots what he cuts off and then puts it in the pot or someplace else. Actually, that's just the only one we've had. We don't have any other place to put it. So yeah, this is an old plant and it does well. Needs very little maintenance. It just needs light, which it gets from this. This is a eastern exposure, and water it every so often. And I just, I swear there was one year where I thought instead of getting out the Christmas tree, I'd just decorate this. Didn't do it, but you could. So yeah, I thought I'd show you that because I don't think I ever showed you that before, especially with it being that old. Okay, so 3D printing. Yep, there they are. It's a little blurry picture there. I saw these, I thought they were cute, so I made 2 sets. I have one for me and one for Walter. Valentine's gift. Yeah, Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Walter likes Mickey Mouse. I have dressed up as Minnie Mouse. And before, actually, I just noticed this one Minnie Mouse. I had to change filaments, and I thought I had the same color of orange, but it looks a little pale here. Well, whatever. She's been sick. Ate a bad heart. I don't know. But yeah, they're just fun. So, and they take a while. They take like 12 hours a piece to print because there's quite a few filament changes. But that leads me to, how do you get started in 3D printing? Well, I've had many people who have voiced an interest in this. And so, and this is going to make this video long, I put together a video about how to get started in 3D printing. Part 1. I'm going to do a series about my adventures with 3D printing, hoping to, for those of you that don't know much about it but want to learn, this might be a gateway for you. So I'm going to insert that video in here. So you might want to pause this, grab yourself another cup of coffee if you're having coffee, because this little video clip takes about 30 minutes. So you're thinking of buying a 3D printer. You've probably seen lots of videos on YouTube about 3D printers, and you've probably seen lots of information and different styles of types of 3D printers on the internet. And it's all very, very confusing, especially if you have not ever dabbled in the 3D printing community. So I'm going to talk today about how I got into 3D printing, what my very first printers were, and where I'm standing today with my 3D printing experience. Now, I got into 3D printing, I think it was just before the pandemic, so I've been doing it for probably around 5 years. And before I even considered buying a 3D printer, and in that point in time, they were very, very pricey, and there wasn't a lot of information about them out there. What was out there was very technical information. It was very intimidating. I even bought a book about 3D printers and, you know, what kind of thing you should know about them. And I read the book from cover to cover, and I was completely lost. There was technical terminology in there. There was all kinds of stuff. And basically, when I finished reading that book, and my intent when I bought the book was that I was probably going to buy a 3D printer, I decided not to. I decided not to invest in one whatsoever because I thought the technology was just too new, too expensive, and would probably be a very expensive boat anchor. So what did I do? Well, I let it go for a few years. Now, this was maybe 7 years ago or so, when I first started to investigate the wonderful world of 3D printing. I put it all on hold after reading that book, as I said. Then I started to see more videos on YouTube about the Creality printers. Now, the Creality printers, you've probably heard the name if you've looked into printers before, are extremely popular. And one of the things that made them really popular was they were extremely inexpensive. You could pick up a Creality Ender 3, that was my first 3D printer, on Amazon, although I didn't buy it on Amazon at the time. I actually bought it from a place here in Canada on the other side of Toronto called 3D Print Canada. And it was under $400 at the time. I still figured it was a bit expensive because I really didn't know whether I was going to like doing 3D printing. And I wasn't really aware until after I got it about the trials and tribulations that come with 3D printing in those days. But I got it anyways, and I remember it was delivered here to the house, and it was in pieces. Some assembly required, a lot of assembly. It took us half a day, both Walter and I working on it. We watched videos about assembling it. We read the instructions, which were very minimal. And Creality is a Chinese company. Most 3D printers come from China. There are a few others that don't, but the big popular ones like Creality, Bamboo Labs, etc., they all come from China. So the instructions at that point in time were in broken English and very, very minimalist. Now, I want to say right off the bat that the 3D printer I was buying at that point in time was not a plug and play. You didn't just pull it out of the box and bingo, you could print. No, because once we got it all together, we had to figure out how to level the bed. And I'll just show you here on the screen. This is Creality's website. Now, the original printer I bought is not listed anymore. You can't buy an original, not brand new, Ender 3. They have other versions of the Ender 3, as you can see here, but essentially this one that's sitting right here, and I don't know if I can blow up the picture, but I'm going to try. There we go. This is what the first printer I bought sort of looked like. This has a little different extruder end on it. They've made it a little fancier. I think they have a touchpad on it now. It was a big dial. When I got mine, first Crealities, it was not a touchpad. To change the settings and things, you had to spin this little dial, which was a pain in the butt. And the biggest pain in the butt was this platform, which is, let's see, do they have a closer picture? Yeah, if you look here, what this model is sitting on, this is called the bed. And this is what your print is printed on, and it has to stick to that. So it's a specially made material for adhesion. But under here, let's see if there's another shot. They may not do this anymore. They probably don't. But there were wheels on each of the four corners of that build plate, as they call it, the bed, for leveling it. And that meant you had to drop your nozzle head down here. This is the nozzle. There's a nozzle in here. You drop it right down to the bed plate, and then you took a sticky note and you slid it underneath that, and you adjusted the wheels to raise and lower on all four corners, which was tricky, the bed, until the little sticky note just barely grazed the end of that nozzle. I can tell you, I spent hours, literally hours, trying to level the bed for this Creality 3. Walter was pretty good at it, but even still, it was the most frustrating thing. And the problem was you usually had to re-level it after every print. So most of the time when you're trying to print on these things, you spent trying to level the bed. And then you had problems with filaments. Filaments were very expensive at the time. They're still pricey, but much more reasonable. You wasted a lot of filament if your bed wasn't leveled, because you get something called spaghetti, which is basically the filament was coming out of the end of the nozzle and it wasn't sticking to the bed. So it's just basically filament pouring out of your printer with nothing to stick to. So it was just reams and reams of it. It looked like spaghetti, and that was a waste of filament. Some filaments work better than other types of filaments. If you wanted to switch colors, it meant you had to stop the machine, take out your old filament, put in the new filament, and restart it, and pray it would pick up where it left off. If your power went off that in the middle of a print for some reason, a power interruption, game over. You had to start all over again. It was horrendous. And I even purchased some UPS's, uninterrupted power supplies, battery backups, for my printer, which were very expensive at the time. They were well over $100 just for that problem, just in case the power went out. Okay, so that was the Creality Ender 3, and I cut my teeth on the Ender 3. That's how I learned about 3D printing. Now, another thing about 3D printers you have to understand is there is a program you need, and they're all online. You download it. They're free. They're called slicer programs. And I'm not going to get into exactly all the nitty-gritty about slicer programs, but we'll talk about slicer program in a future video. But for now, just you have to know that you have to have a slicer program. When you find a model and you download it to your computer, you load it into the slicer converts that model into what's called an STL file. And the STL file is basically made up of what's called G code, computer language, that the printer can read. Then you transfer that to the printer, and away you go, hopefully. So in the early days of my 3D printing, it was a struggle. There were no two ways about it. Well, I advanced I bought another, they came out with a version 2 of the Ender 3. And the price on it was a little lower than my first one. They had made some significant improvements in it, like a filament sensor that when your filament ran out, the system would stop, which was great. It didn't just keep going, because that would have ruined your print, because it would have had nothing to put on the build plate. So just printing air. And they also put in a resume feature. And they upgraded the monitor board, the keyboard, to a touch screen as well. So they were making improvements all the time, and they had several versions of that. And then eventually I owned 2 Creality Ender 3s, the original one and the version 2. And then I went into the KE printer, and I'll just show you what a KE printer looks like, if I can get, yeah, here we go. So the KEs, that's these ones right here, this one. Now it looks a lot like the Ender 3, but there's a lot of improvements. Here's the sensor for the filament, this little black box up here. No more knobs under here. It comes with it automatically bed levels, which that was a godsend. I can tell you that was worth the price of this printer. What was the price? Well, when I first bought my KE, it was probably about closer to $400. They have come down a lot. And you can see here, they're saying that original price 419 Canadian, now 300. This is always what this price is. That isn't really a sale. That's just the way they get you to think you're getting a bargain. But that automatically bed leveling was definitely a godsend, as was the filament out sensor, and things just ran better on this. This truly was almost a plug and play machine. The half day it took me to put together the Ender 3, the original one, this took about half an hour to get it all assembled and ready to go for your first print. So that was great. And I loved it so much that over time I bought 3 more of them. So I still own them. I actually have 4 of the Creality Ender 3 KEs. And I used those for quite a long time on a regular basis and had very little problem with them. Now, I did have to replace nozzle ends at times because they're brass. Brass is softer than a hardened steel. You will hear these things. People will say it's got a hardened steel or things like that. Hardened steel is much better than brass because it lasts much longer. There are some parts that you will have to replace now and then. More so with this brand of printer than the bamboo printers, but I'll come to the bamboo ones in a moment. So I was very, very happy. That's why I ended up with 4 of them, a print mill. Plus I had the 2 original Creality Ender 3s. I don't have the Creality Ender 3s anymore. I put them up on Kijiji, which is a marketplace sort of sale place, but I put them up for nothing. Anybody that wanted them could have them. I wasn't going to charge any money for it because, you know, quite frankly, nobody was going to pay for them. Or what was I going to charge? $100? They'd come in and say, well, you take 50, because that's usually how these things work. I just want them to go to somebody, because they still worked, but somebody who maybe wanted to tinker with the technology, learn from it, that kind of thing. Got rid of them within an hour of posting that. Both of them went to the same person. He was very, very happy. His girls, his daughters, had been bugging him for 3D printers. He knew nothing about the technology. I warned him that this was not going to be an easy thing, but it definitely was a learning opportunity, and to check out YouTube. And off he went. So I was happy they went to a good home. Whether he's still using them, that was about 10 months ago. I don't know. Okay, so I still have the 4 KEs, the Creality KEs. Do I use them? On occasion. On occasion. And if you look over here, you can see one of them anyways next to the bamboo. There's 2 of them sitting there. I need a room. The other 2 are at my, what I call the Lucey room, where my long arm is. And every now and then, like when I want to use up a little bit of filament that's on the end of a roll, I will use them for some stupid little toy or something like that, just to use up filament. That's it. So I learned a lot from using the Crealities over time. But don't worry about that. If you are moving into the world of 3D printing and you know very little about it and it scares you a little bit, well, let me see if I can find this. Here we go. Okay. I highly recommend the Bamboo series of printers. I am in love with Bamboo. Now, I am not sponsored by any of these. If they want to sponsor me, I wouldn't say no. But I have bought all of the ones that I have, my Bamboo ones, and I'm going to show you in a moment what my setup looks like with my own money. These are truly plug and play right out of the box. They're a little bit pricier than the Crealities, but they're coming down in price all the time too, but you get a lot of bang for your buck. My recommendation would be this one, the Bamboo Lab A1. Now, it's priced at, I don't know, I think it's under $300 just for the unit itself. We'll talk about this unit here, which is an AMS, in a moment. They come already assembled. You pull them out of the box. They're very, very well packed. You pull out all the packing. You're up and doing your first print probably in under 20 minutes, maybe less. And with success. So, yeah, if you're just getting your feet wet in the 3D printing world, you're not sure if you want to really invest in anything that's more expensive than, say, $300 or $400, I highly recommend the A1. Now, do I have one? No, I don't, because I went a little higher, as I'll show you in a minute. This device here is an additional cost, but, you know, if you're going to buy a printer like this, I think this is a good investment. It's not that much more money, maybe $100 more. 150 at the most, something like that. It is an AMS, automatic material supply. It is what changes your colors, and it can handle 4 colors at a time. Wonderful device, wonderful. But I didn't buy one of these. I bought, go back over here, I jumped right into the Bamboo Lab X1 and the AMS, basic AMS for it. That's what's sitting here on top. This is a big machine, much bigger than the Creality machines, much bigger than the A1. You do need to have some space for it, but it's all enclosed. Enclosures are important for many, many reasons. Certain filaments work better if it's in an enclosed space. Do these machines give off fumes? Yes, they do. I have an air purifier down here sitting by them. They don't give off a lot, but again, it depends on the type of filament you are using. That's a discussion for another day. It's got a touch screen. It automatically levels. It does all kinds of things automatically. It is brilliant. And as I said, it's a right out of the box, ready to go. So I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, these are more expensive. These are going to cost you, well, if you get the AMS with it, it's going to cost you probably in around $1,800 Canadian. They have sales, though, every now and then, too. So, yes, it's a big jump from what the price is for a Creality KE to this system. But it is worth the money. I will tell you that. I have had very few problems, and any problems I've had with my Bamboo were user error, and I was very easily able to correct the problem. Customer support is very good, even though they're in China, but they do have a very extensive series of help files online. So any problem you have, just plug it into Google and you will find the answer for it. There's also lots of YouTube videos about using these as well. Many, many resources for this. parts if you need any parts, and you're not going to need many parts. You may want to replace the nozzle, more apt to swapping out your nozzles because nozzles can be different sizes for different purposes. You can just go to the bamboo site that I'm on right now and you can pick these up and they'll ship them to you. You can buy your filament from them. I buy bamboo filament pretty much exclusively now. I like their filament. Their price is good. They have refillable spools, which is really nice for the environment. And I think I said the price is very reasonable on them as well. And I order directly from them. And if I order over $65 worth, which isn't hard to do, free shipping. And it usually comes pretty fast as well. So yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give bamboo 9 out of 10. Why not a full 10? Well, nothing's ever perfect, is it? So highly recommend this. Now, there are all kinds of other things I could tell you about 3D printing, like where do you get your models, and what about the slicer thing, and what about more details about the filament? Well, we'll save that for another video, probably next week. But for now, I'm going to take you over, and I'm going to show you my setup. Okay, here we are. Here's my setup. So there's one of my X1s. Actually, that's my original X1. Those are 2 of the 4 Creality KEs. This is the second X1 that I bought. I love the first one so much I had to have a second one. And this is my big daddy of them all, my H2S, which is the biggest build plate of them all, and it's a much faster machine, and it's got a few other little buzzers and bells and cost a lot more money than these 2. As I said, these 2 are at around $1,800. This one was more like, with the AMS, which is sitting over there, was more like about $2,500, something like that. Now, speaking of AMSs, I originally, on the X1, first X1, I bought the AMS, and there it is, it sits on top. But I have since expanded. This one now has 2 AMSs. This one is the AMS2 Pro. It has a built-in filament dryer in it. Again, that's a discussion for another day when we talk about filaments. I have 2 AMSs attached to the second X1 as well. And you can attach up to about 4 if you wanted to. So that means right now I can do 8 color changes automatically on both X1s. On the H2S, I have 1 AMS, but I am waiting. They're out of stock right now, but I'm going to purchase another AMS for it as well. I really like the ability of being able to switch between 8 different colors. It just saves you a lot of time. Filament. Well, this is some of my filament, but I have these cupboards. These 3 cupboards are all filled with filament. And this one. Yes, I buy a lot of filament. But I also have stockpiled in the other room, where Lucey room, a bunch of filament there too. I buy filament, a lot of filament. It's sort of like, if you're quilting, can you ever have too much fabric? Or scrapbooking, can you ever have too much paper? And I mention those 2 things because I did both of them, or I do both of them. I don't do scrapbooking anymore. Anyways, I digress. So yeah, that's my setup. And right now they're both working. Usually my printers are going every day. And I am making this little guy over here. Only I'm making him as Minnie Mouse. Just fun. And you see there's 4 colors in that. I don't have to do a thing. This, after it's all been set up to do this print, it's working away on its own and changing the colors automatically. That's why the AMSs are so important. This one is just finished up, a bigger piece that I am making. I'm making a hot air balloon lamp. More about those kind of things in a future video. And this is my air filter right here. Now, right now it's doing pretty well because when it says it's 002, that's really, really low in terms of the particulate it might be pulling out of the air from the filaments. Don't let that scare you too much, okay? We'll talk about that in another video. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share with you about 3D printing. Let me go back to the computer. So, what's the bottom line right now? If you want to get into 3D printing, it's wonderful. You can do so many things with a 3D printer, and we'll talk about that in a future video as well. If you've been a long-time member of my channel, you know I show you often many of the various things that I have made. A lot of the things I make are one-offs, meaning, hey, I just want to see if I could print that. That looks kind of cool. Many of the things I print are not practical. They're art pieces, to say the most. They're toys for boys or girls or whoever of any age, but there are practical prints as well, and I have shown you some of those before, and I'll be showing you some more of them. So this is the mentality you need if you're going to buy a 3D printer. Now, you're going to see lots of YouTube videos out there that say you can make a business. Well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. I pretty much think, with the way that 3D printers are going now, that if you're thinking of having a serious business, you better find a niche, that you've got something no one else has that you can sell and you can make pretty quickly and at a reasonable price to you and maximize your profit. Now, I'm not an expert on print farms and on making it a business. Go on YouTube, you'll find lots of information about that. But I would say, with the way the printers have developed now, anybody could own a 3D printer and anybody can print whatever they want on a 3D printer, pretty much. So in my way of thinking, I really don't think, unless you find something that is unique, I don't think you're going to be making millions of dollars. The other thing too is 3D printers are going to become as readily available in a home as a toaster, and not 20 years down the road, next year, if not next week, if not already, because everybody's got a 3D printer. Do you? You need to get one. So we'll continue this series as the weeks go by, and I'll talk about other aspects of these printers. Just one word of advice. I am not an expert. I am telling you what I have learned and from my own personal experience in the 3D printing world. And I love it. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. Let me know. I know, I'm sorry, it was long. And some things now in this section I call This Is Interesting. Well, about 3D printing. Now, the American government in certain states or whatever are trying to pass bills that will regulate 3D printing. They're saying it's for a thing about security. I don't know. But the thing is, certain things you won't be able to print, and it'll be built into your printer. I don't really understand how they're going to do this. In fact, what I have watched about this, most content creators for 3D printing say, yeah, they won't be able to do that. It's not going to happen. But you never know. It's just another overstepping by a government to try and regulate us. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can find plenty of YouTubes about that. And the other one is, I found this really interesting video, and I've put a link for it from YouTube down in the show notes. It's called American Reacts to Tom Brokaw Explaining Canada. Now, the video that this person is explaining is a video that was made by Tom Brokaw. He was the lead newscaster on, I think, on NBC. I'm not sure, at one point in time. It was made 15 years ago. It is a really interesting watch because it shows very clearly what we were like 15 years ago, our two countries with each other, in comparison to today. And it's actually, it is sad. It is really sad. But anyways, if you're interested, I've put a link in the show notes below for that. Okay, so that brings me to the end of a very long morning coffee. My coffee's gone cold, even though I have a little hot plate over here that keeps it warm, little cup warmer thing. So I need another coffee. Actually, what I need is to go out for a walk. And I think it's light enough. Oh, yeah, it is. So that I'm going to do, and then get on with my day. Do tune into Idiot Quilter tomorrow, because I have a whole tutorial about how to do those portfolios that I showed you earlier. And don't forget about the pop-up sew day this coming Saturday February the 21st, 2026, 8 a.m. Links in the show notes. And please like and subscribe to the channel. It really is helping out. And, you know, hit the bell to get notifications. You may or may not. That's a YouTube thing that doesn't always work. Okay, I hope you have a great week. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Hi, I'm just going to interrupt my program for just 1 second to remind you to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for future notifications. That's all I ask of you. Show me a little love. Thanks.